ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another edition of the Kent Holste podcast right here on KentHolstePodcast.com, as well as the YouTube channel. Today, I want to talk about something that is very important in my life and wasn't really that way until a lot of things that seriously went wrong in my life happened, like a divorce, and it was my first divorce. It was really difficult. It was emotionally trying at a lot of the time because there was stuff going on that necessarily shouldn't have happened. And, you know, I had to figure out ways to get past it. And then um, there came a time where I just had to realize that the only way I was going to get through it was by thinking positive. So, a lot of the people that listen to this podcast and have gone to my social media pages have asked me, where did the whole think and be positive slogan come from? And why is it so important? And for me, it all started with that. That's where it came from. And I think the biggest lesson I've learned is if you don't have things to be positive about in your life, there's really no reason to go further with where you're going until you find something to be positive about. Because if you're thinking negatively all the time, if you're thinking the worst is going to happen in your life all the time, that's pretty much how it's going to play itself out. There's no getting around it. That's just the fact of life. You think negative, things are going to be negative. If you are positive, positive things in time will come your way. And the hardest thing for us is to be patient. The hard thing for us is to understand why things have to happen the way that they do and why does it take time for things to get readjusted to go somewhat back to what normal should be. But being positive, like I said, wasn't in my vocabulary a lot of the time in my life. Even though I was surrounded by positivity because of my parents and because of my extended family, my aunts and uncles, and how they taught their children to live their lives. And so, I always talk about my family, my parents being so inspirational. And I always forget that it wasn't just my parents, it's from both sides of their families as well that are positive and encouraging people. It's just how they were raised and how their parents taught them to live their life, to be honest, hardworking people, to accept people regardless of different situations or scenarios because it's irrelevant. It's better to be positive about people. And I think back to the times that I grew up. I never saw any negative come from my families. It was always positive. It always was based on faith and family and friends. And that's what it's all about in life. It's very positive. When we would sit down at the dinner table, we would be positive about what was in front of us, whether the meal was good or whether it wasn't, which is irrelevant. We were positive because God blessed us with that meal. So to thank him, we would pray and give thanks. And so I think that's the biggest thing too, is giving thanks for what positive things that we do have in our life. But it goes back to how often we don't focus and see what good and what positive things are around because we tend to focus on what we don't have, what we deserve to have, but we don't have at this point in time. And we base our happiness on whether we have those things or not. And to me, that's not right. Because a lot of us, we are blessed to have so many things that are positive. Some of us have jobs, some of us have good friends, some of us have reliable vehicles, some of us have the ability to travel and see different places and see different experiences, and those are all positive things. But for those people that don't have that, for those people that don't have the ability to enjoy life and go out and do things and don't have a job, don't have family, the question may be then what do I have to be positive about in my life if I have nothing? And to be quite honest, I hate it when people say that they have nothing because it's completely false. Everybody has something in their life. Everybody has things that they can be happy about and to enjoy. And the thing is there's so many people that don't take the time to stop and to look around to see that positivity. And that needs to change. People need to see the good that's around them so they can actually be happy. But positivity is more than that. Positivity is more than just a feeling. It's the actions that we do. It's the things that we give to others, our hearts and our minds and our time, because that's very, very positive. Positivity is how we display ourselves to others, how we treat other people with our emotions. Because if we're not being positive to other people, do you think they're going to be positive in return? We don't really think about that. We don't take the time to stop and think about the positivity that we display towards other people. There's so many people that walk around that are miserable, that aren't happy with their life because they have nothing to be positive about in their mind. But I'm sure somewhere, someplace, there's someone who's thinking about that person, that's praying for that person, but they just don't know how to reach or to get in contact with that person. So there is no reason to think in your mind that there's negative things around you when there is positive. Yes, you may not have it all. You may not have the nicest place to live or the nicest job with all the great benefits, but at least you have something. At least you're breathing air and you're living life. Because even though you may not have it all, even though you may be miserable because of the things that you think you deserve to have in your life, doesn't mean that you can't take the time to find the positivity in your life to go out and make a difference, to be that positive inspiration to somebody else. You could be homeless and have the greatest positive attitude in the world because you realize the fact that you are living life. But your emptiness inside of what you don't have doesn't mean anything. You're just happy. You're happy to go out and make a difference. Maybe there's things that people can do that don't have it all that can make the world a difference to somebody else. But the question still remains, why is positivity so important? Why do we need it in order to survive in this world today? It's because with positivity, there's no looking back. When you're taking the time to look at every situation in a positive way, there's no need to be negative. When we look at people and how they live their life and how they present themselves and try to do it in a positive way, we can start to change the way that we perceive other people. When we take the time to get to know someone, even though from the outside looking in, their life doesn't look like everything is all a bed of roses per se. It's not always pretty, but it's not our life purpose to just go out there and judge people. Our life purpose is to be positive. If I chose to be negative in the midst of my divorces, in the midst of not being able to give my kids the family life that they deserved, how do you think my life would be? How do you think I would be living my life? Would I be doing these podcasts? Would I be still alive today? Those are the questions that really shouldn't be thought about, but in some ways they should. Because if I wasn't positive, yeah, I probably would have done drugs. Maybe I would have thought about committing suicide. I could have done lots of things. But no matter how many bad thoughts could have popped into my mind, I always took the time to think positive. Because no matter if I could have taken that easy way out, there's no way that I could have ever committed suicide. There's no way I could have ever done drugs because to me, it's stupid. There's no reason. What? To do drugs and end up looking horrible later on in my life? Yeah, no. I try to look pretty. I I don't want to look nasty. I would rather look presentable. I would rather be in good health. Yeah, I could have gone back to drinking more, but I decided not to. To be quite frankly, during the last divorce that I had, prior to that, I was a very heavy smoker. I would smoke maybe 2 to 3 packs a week. It was crazy. But during that time of the divorce, I decided to quit, and I literally did not have a cigarette. Here we are 3 years later, and I may have, had a stumble or two and maybe had 1 or 2 smokes since then, but I haven't gone back to what it used to be like, and I'm proud of that. That is a positive thing. That is positivity. That is you taking control of your life and taking a negative situation and turning it into a positive. The positive thing is I chose not to drink. I chose not to go out and do things that could jeopardize my life because I knew I have better things for my life than to risk my life, taking my life. The thought of the pain that would go through uh, my body if I chose to take the easy road to committing suicide, it just doesn't settle good in my stomach. I can never do it. And don't get me wrong, I've said it. I said many, many times that I would commit suicide, but I only did that to manipulate and to change things so I wouldn't lose anything, which is stupid. That's a negative. You don't do that. I could have taken that even better road and chose to be positive and not say that. Wouldn't have made a big difference if I didn't say that? Yes, it would have made a huge difference. Because as always, when we have stress and anxiety and fear and things that are all clammed into your brain and you feel overwhelmed, you sometimes stupidly say things that you don't mean. And by the time it comes out, you think to yourself, "Oh good lord, why did I even say that?" Because it's never going to happen. Never ever ever would it happen. Cuz I'm better than that. I look at these news stories of people who do drugs, who are alcoholics, or people who attempt to do suicide, and I feel so bad for them. I wish that there was a way that positivity could be in their mind about how they can live their life. Because there's going to be times in your life where things are going to be dark and grim, and you're going to feel like there's no way out of it, that there's no other option, but there is. There is always an alternate route. There is always time to turn around. Why do you think there's different exits and turnarounds and loops and roundabouts and traffic circles on our highways? Because just like in life, if you need to turn back around or go the alternate way, there has to be a way to get there. If you go one way all the time, of course you're not going to go anywhere, and you can't go back and change it. And granted, there's going to be times and things that you can't, that it's out of your hands, that there's things that happen that you can't change. They're going to stay. And there's no way to turn that negative into a positive. At least so you seem to think. There's always a way, even if there is no turning back, even if there is no redo or a makeup. There is always a chance that you can turn your life around and turn negative things into a positive situation. For instance, there was a time in my life where there was an unfortunate situation where I had something happen to me that shouldn't have because of somebody's actions. And they did things to me that was not appropriate because I was only in second grade. And to be quite honest, I was molested. I was forced to do things to another person that was way older than me that I shouldn't have done for multiple reasons. And even though I had to have that negative in my life for so long without telling anybody, I had to find a way to be positive about it. I had to find a way to not let that situation bring me down because I had to keep it a secret. Or at least I felt like I had to because of what was told to me at that time. And yes, those times where people have unfortunate situations of being molested or raped or stuff like that is hard. And quite frankly, there is no way to be positive when it comes to that. But in my situation, I had to. I was young. I wasn't ready for that type of interaction. I don't know exactly how I turned that into a positive. I think that just by moving forward, being that young was a positive thing. I had to put it on the back of my mind. I didn't really let that affect me. I don't think. I just knew that I couldn't let that ruin my life. I had to not be afraid. And of course, there was some long-term effects of that affect me even to this day that seem really silly. Like, um, I don't want to talk about because it's just not appropriate. But um, yeah, it's there was a lot of negative. But the positive thing about that is later on, as I got older, as an adult, that person came back and apologized. And it meant a lot because being an adult, I understand that forgiveness is the best positive thing you could do to heal. So I guess in a way, that was the one thing that was positive that came from it. Is even before she apologized, I forgave that person because they were a family friend. And quite honestly, I was so young, I probably didn't even know the difference. I knew that was wrong what happened to me, but I only lived in fear because if I said something, I was concerned what it would do towards that friendship with not just uh, that young lady's life with uh, being in my dad's school, but also what it would do to that girl's family that my parents were close to at the time. I didn't want to take the risk of that falling apart. The other part was is I was afraid of whether my family would believe me even if I did say what happened. And those are negative things because if my parents truly cared about me as much as they did, they would have understood. And that's my fault. It comes to the point that I was young. I didn't know any better. So I guess there's so many questions that I could have you guys answer today about positivity, but more specifically in the realms of those types of situations where if people have been raped or abused, or if they're addicts, or if they've had a significant death in their life happened, um, how do you take those times and turn them into positive ones? What if you can't take those moments and turn them around? What if there's no turning back? What can you do? I mean, these are tough situations. This is a hard hitting topic when positivity should be a very good thing. It should make you feel good. So I guess this is kind of a open conversation at this point. What do you think about positivity? What can be done to create positivity despite our struggles and our hard times in our life? How can we look at our lives from a different point of view in a positive way instead of looking at it for all the things that we don't have or the things that we think we deserve, and just focus on the positivity that of what we have in our life already right here and now. We can always look forward to our positive things in our life, but we can never look back, because the more we look back, the more we can't go forward. And that's the positive thing about being positive, is there's endless opportunities for when you live a positive life. But there's nothing good that comes from a life that's being lived in negativity. And that's why I feel so bad for when people live a negative lifestyle, but yet they claim to be Christian, they claim to be good people, but yet here they are making accusations, they're judging people, they're making assumptions of other people. But how is that being positive? How is that them being that Christian person that they're claiming to be? And what if they're not religious and they claim to be good people, but yet they do those same actions that are negative? Now, as always, within the podcast, in the comment spot in the YouTube channel area, that's where you leave your comments. But once again, please make these comments positive and encouraging. This is not a time to bash me or any other person that decides to leave a comment. If there are comments that are rude and negative, they will be deleted and you could be blocked. And I don't want to block you. That's the last thing I want to do, because that's not a positive thing. The whole purpose of this website, and I say this every podcast just about, is to be encouraging. It's about being positive. It's about living a life that you can look back on and realize that you did it the best you could, despite the problems, the negativity, the sadness, the heartbreak, everything that life brings. You conquered it by being positive. That's what this is about. So I encourage you to take that time today to think about what you could do better in your life to be positive. Maybe you want to share that. What are you going to do better to be positive? What are you going to be doing better from this point on to be positive towards other people, towards other things in your life? All right, let's talk about that. And always, just like in our topic, think and be positive. If you need to, do it like I did. Post it everywhere possible so it can remind you, no matter what you do, that being positive is the best policy to live a successful life. And I believe in you. Don't you think you should too? And do what you can today, not what you can't, to create that positivity. Live it no matter how hard and stressful life can be. It's possible to be positive. You just have to try. And it may take time, but it's worth it. And if you see someone who's served our country, whether it be military, police, healthcare workers, whatever, if they serve our country, give an elbow, thank them, and tell them how much you appreciate them. You never know how much they might appreciate you for saying those amazing, kind, positive words. So be kind to one another. That's the biggest thing. This world's not going to change until we start being positive and treating others with the respect that they deserve. No one's going to benefit from being negative and being hurtful. It's just pointless. That's not why we're here. So be kind. And most of all, if you like this video or any of the other podcasts, or blogs or anything like that, make sure you like, share, comment, and most of all, subscribe to the YouTube channel, as that's the only way you're going to be able to get new posts of new blogs that are out, new vlogs that are out, everything, unboxings. It's fun stuff that we've got here for you at the Kent Holsey podcast. So make sure you do that today. Until the next time we talk again, I hope God blesses your day and you are safe, and I'll see you guys very, very soon.